Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to be talking about and showing you how I treat my cutting boards in particular. Now this can apply to any of your wood products. Mr. Rain does have a video out on treating your different wood items, and that one it was in particular a cutting board, but that applies to anything, whether it be your sock darners, your pasta drying racks, your mortar and pestles, anything like that. And he does have a special treatment that he makes up. It is a coconut oil and beeswax blend with a little bit of essential oil, and we do sell that on our Etsy store, but you can also make your own if you want. But I wanted to show you what I like to do first before putting on the treatment, his treatment as a final step, and that is using simply coconut oil. Now there are other options out there. They do make a special rather expensive food grade mineral oil for cutting boards and butcher blocks, but I would recommend simply going with your unrefined organic virgin coconut oil, and this is going to be an excellent way because it's going to treat the wood, it's going to soak into the wood, and because it has natural antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral properties in it, it is a great option to have in your cutting board because it's going to kill all that nasty stuff in there. And so getting it in there and letting it soak in is the key. And so if you'll see how dark the color of this is, or even of this butcher block over here. I don't remember what all woods are in this, but this has been very well treated. I've treated it many times, as I have this. This one really doesn't need any more. I have another one in there that does though. It's an old one, and back in the day when it was a wedding gift, and when we first got it, I didn't know anything about treating woods, cutting boards, and so I just used them as is, and then, washed them up, and, if I would have known what I know now, that cutting board would have stayed together. But I'll show it to you in a minute. So first what I want to show you, and I showed this in my last This and That video, and that is the side-by-side of the chicken cutting board in particular. We have the pig ones too. But the first one, the one on the top, you can see is a much lighter color than the one I'm holding, which is also the one on the bottom of the picture. Now, they're the same, made from the same wood. Everything about them is the same, cut out the same. Mr. Rain makes these himself. But the difference is the one on the bottom is the one that's been treated quite well, which is this one here. And so it's had the many treatments of coconut oil on it and is soaked into the wood, and it really brings out the color of the wood, the grains, and it just gives it a nice, deep, beautiful color, as well as giving it protection. So what I'm going to do, since this one really doesn't need any more treatment, I'm going to go get the one that I have heating up on the wood stove right now. Yes, on the wood stove. It's on a trivet. The wood stove isn't very hot. But also I want to show you in this picture right here, you can see the chicken cutting board sitting on my dehydrating rack that Mr. Rain built, and it's right next to the wood stove, and it's just getting nice and warm, and that's how I do it. I get them nice and warm first before I put the treatment on. So let me go get that other cutting board and bring it in here since it will be nice and warm, and I'll show you what I do next. Okay, so right here is the cutting board I was just talking about. This side here is the warmest side. I've had this since Mr. Rain and I got married over 28 years ago, but it used to be just one solid piece of wood. These pieces of walnut in here were added in later because of my lack of good treatment of the cutting board. It ended up cracking right down one of these sides. So what Mr. Rain did was he finished cutting it out, straightened up the edges, and then did it again in another spot so that, since it wasn't directly in the center, so that he could add these beautiful pieces of walnut and make it look like it was supposed to be that way, and then got it all glued back together. So then what I do is I like to take a good chunk of coconut oil, and I just use my bare hands. Mr. Rain likes to use a rag when he does that, so you can do whatever you want. But see, then when I'm done doing this, I just rub the coconut oil into my skin. It's just really good for you anyway. And so I just rub that in there, and then a lot of times what I'll do is I'll set it back over by the wood stove, and then just allow it to sit there for a day or so and let it just keep soaking that coconut oil in. And I'll do that for you know, come back to it several times during the day, and then the next day what I'll do is I'll flip it over and work on the other side. But what you'll notice is after you put this on there, you can see it's really shiny right now, is as it sits, and especially as it stays warm, that coconut oil is going to seep down into the wood. You want to keep doing this and let it really seep deep into the wood, giving it a good treatment that you can get as far in there as possible. And then once you got that side done, do it again then you do this side. And it will give a good treatment. Now, every so often, maybe once a year, I'll come back, and that's why this one's been treated pretty good before, but it's been a while. So I say once a year, do the whole process again, and what you'll find is that you'll only have to do it maybe once or twice, whereas when you first get a brand new cutting board, you may have to do this 10 times before you finally see the oil stop seeping into the wood. So what you'll see is you can tell on this side here, where I kind of rubbed a little oil around, but see where it still looks dry? See that those areas here, this is what will happen to this side once it's sat for a while, is this will all soak in and it will look dry. And then you just go do that again, and you do that until it stops soaking up that oil, and it just stays like that, and it won't take any more. Okay, which is what this one is. And that's why I could tell it didn't need any more, because I went and set it by the wood stove, because I was thinking about putting a little bit more on there. But then it started, you know, it's still just a little bit warm right now. Well, it stopped, you know, the oil just kind of surfaced, which means that tells me it's got a lot of oil down in there, so I don't really need to put any more on there. Okay, so then what I'll do is go set this by the fireplace and let that soak in, and then I'll come back and treat it again, and then tomorrow I will work on the other side. And then when you're done and you feel like you got a good amount of the coconut oil all really soaked in there, then what you can do is then go over it with your wood treatment that Mr. Rain made. Or again, you can make your own. Basically all this is 50% coconut oil and 50% beeswax with the addition of some essential oil. So he has 3 different kinds. He has the orange, he has the lime, and he has the lemon. And these are the citrus ones are really good options to use if you're going to make your own, adding a little bit of citrus oil. But again, we have all 3 of these available in our store. So if you decide to make it or buy it, make sure, this is why we like the tins, what you want to do is you want to heat it up a little bit first. You want it to get good and soft, because right now, in the form it's in right now, it's pretty hard. Let it melt a little bit so that it's easy to spread onto your board, and then spread it evenly. You can use your bare hands, but I suggest with this you may want to use a rag, because it is going to be a lot thicker than your coconut oil. But if you decide to make your own, or you even buy some and you decide you want it a little bit thinner than that, not quite so heavy, you can simply dilute it down with some more coconut oil by mixing it, like I would say even going maybe 3 parts coconut oil to 1 part beeswax. It's really entirely up to you. But that combination is a really good one, especially for coating your things like your mortar and pestle, your pasta drying rack, like I mentioned, your rolling pins. In fact, here's a rolling pin right here that I'm going to be putting up on to our store that Mr. Rain just finished. This is a French rolling pin, and you can see he's got a nice treatment on that using the wood treatment. And so, yeah, you just want to heat it up, take a rag. It's good to have your wood product kind of warm. Don't put it on top of your stove. Don't put, just keep it next to a heat source of some type so that it's at least a little bit warm, and then have your wood treatment warmed up, and then just rub it in there real good on all parts, and that's going to give it just a much longer life, whatever the wood product is that you have. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.